Okay, we are recording. How are you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Let me see that shirt. I'm great.
It's
Oakland.
representing Oakland Tech. You know what I'm saying? Not Oakland
Rep-
Tech, the school, but Tech in Oakland. You know what I'm
oh,
saying?
Tech in Oakland.
Yeah,
Blacks in Tech.
blacks in Tech in Oakland. You know?
Oakland Blacks in Tech.
Yeah, yeah,
Oaklanders in Tech.
yeah.
So let me do the intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome to This Moment in History. My name is Kim Hess. I am your cultural anthropologist and a diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging consultant. I never usually say the whole title. And I am here. I'm super excited. This man, I'm going to have you, I like people to introduce themselves. So go ahead and say your name, who you are, how we met, or how we know each other.
My name is JD Mathieu, and I am nobody. I'm an artist.
Wait, you have to spell that. You can't just say you're nobody. You have to.
That's Knobody. That was my stage name for I guess about 20 years in doing music. And just recently, I've started a teaching job, so I'm teaching now. I'm very excited about that, and I also run a media company called Ill Appropriate Media LLC. So I do digital media. My style of media is about trying to capture content from devices that are available to people that like may not be able to afford like big camera equipment, or so many talented artists that don't have resources. So I'm about trying to figure out how to capture quality content with minimal resources.
Awesome. Obviously, you're going to have to teach me because right before we started this recording, I was like, I got the sun back here. And he's like, well,
Yes.
You are backlit. It's not ideal, but let's just work with it.
Yeah,
so you teach classes to young people, but this is also what you do as far as music videos with your media company. So first, let's talk about the first, let's talk about how we met, because that will go into your media company and you teaching and these great videos and your emceeing. So much to talme about. I'm sorry if folks, if you can't tell, I'm a fan.
Yeah, no, likewise. Like, me and Kim, people don't know this off camera, but we are good friends, and we have had plenty of like conversations about all types of different topics and like very like dope, thought-provoking conversations. So I'm very much looking forward to this. How I met Kim was I'm an artist. I was doing videos. I just was kind of dipping my toes more into capturing videos for other people around me instead of just myself. And I did a video for a homie. And I think maybe a couple of weeks later, he gave me a call or sent me a text message saying that somebody that he knew was looking to get some work done, some filming work done, was working on a documentary. And he put me in contact with who I would come to know as Kim Hess, Miss Kimberly Hess. And just from like our first conversation, it was just like a very dope vibe between us. And we've been building ever since.
Right. And just to expand a little bit on how we met. It was my boyfriend, one of his friends and your friends. He was like, oh, you got to meet this guy. You want to celebrate Blacks in Tech. This man is Black in tech, right? And even that first conversation, when I talked to you, you were like, well, I'm not really in tech. And I was like, just because you don't work for Google or Twitter doesn't mean you're not in tech, because you are the techiest person that I know. Like every time, so we had a documentary team, which we still do. It's just we're on hiatus right now. And every time we would shoot something, me and Isabella, we would just be like asking you questions like, what do we do with this camera? How do you do this with an iPhone? What is this angle? You're amazing.
Yeah, and so likewise.
Thank you. You see, people can see the vibe. They can see the vibe.
Right.
So let's talk about you growing up in Oakland, being an MC, and how you started doing videos for yourself and then other people, and then how that transitioned into you teaching.
Just growing up in Oakland. I mean, I was born in 1980, so I'm like right there in the hip hop. Like I was right there when I was coming into my years of understanding the world around me just a little bit. Like hip hop was this thriving force in my neighborhood. So I don't have any older brothers, but I have older cousins, and the music and the things that they were listening to is what was resonating with me the most. So just growing up around hip hop and growing up in that era, it's like for my parents, like R&B and soul and funk was their music. You know what I'm saying? And as much as I feel like that belongs to me too, hip hop was my music. You know, like growing up, it was our sound. So I had an older cousin that was doing music. And I got to give him like a lot of credit because he was absolutely my first inspiration to ever want to do hip hop. I would go and stay at my auntie's house like almost every summer. And I mean, like I was a kid. I was like fifth grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. She had a swimming pool at her house up in Sacramento. So I used to want to go and stay out there with her every summer. And I would stay in my cousin's room, and he was an artist. He put out a tape like way back in 80 something before you could spin around and throw a rock in any direction and hit 10 rappers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I would stay in his room every time I stayed there. And it was like a framed picture of his album on the wall and like a copy of the actual tape. And I used to listen to this tape all the time, but it was just like waking up every day and seeing that post on the wall in the room I'm sleeping in. It's like, oh, that's my cousin. I can, it kind of made me feel like I can do it. And I tried a couple of times through the years of just trying to like write music. And, I would get some of my cousins together. Let's write a rap, y'all. And, we'd sit down and nobody would make it more than a couple of lines in before they would give up. And I would maybe make it a handful of lines in before I would just throw in the towel. And eventually, when I got old enough to kind of start running around in the streets and hanging out with my friends, I mean, we were like 11, 12, but we were going to house parties, and it would
at
always
12?
be. And we
at
were
11
young,
and 12?
we were young kids running the streets, okay? And it's like during the time, like it would always be a microphone plugged up at a house party. It would always be a microphone. The sound system would sound like ultra whack. It would be like one speaker and one microphone, but everybody wanted to freestyle. And it probably took me a handful of house parties before I worked up the nerve to be like, oh, I gotta be a part of this. I gotta do this, And a couple of years later, being in school, this is all relevant to my story. Like a couple of years later, like being in school, me and my homies, we would be on the bus on the way home. We were going to Merritt College for a high school program at the time. And we would all be on the 54 coming down the hill on the way home. And some of the Skyline kids would be got on that bus too at some point. And
that's another high school, right?
Yeah, it's another high school in Oakland. And a bunch of us would be on the bus and we'd be like banging on the windows, making a beat. Like somebody would be like banging on the window, making a beat. And everybody would be like freestyling, passing the mic around. And we would have like the whole bus completely captivated. Like people like way at the front of the bus that you would just think would be annoyed. It's the end of the day. Everybody just got off work, probably just want to be left alone. But we would have the whole bus captivated. And I was kind of a standout, So my cousin that I was talking about, who, I stayed in his room, he ended up moving back to Oakland at some point, and he was going to the studio all the time. And I would say, cuz, you got to take me to the studio, man. You got to hear me rap, man. You got to take me in there. And he was like, no, I pay for studio time, so you have to write something. I can't just take you in there to freestyle, And honestly, the first rap that I really wrote was kind of like about him because we had gotten into it about something and I was mad. And that was the first time I
it wasn't like this, you're my mentor, thank you. It was like, I'm mad at you.
No. But what was funny about it though was that I wrote it and the cousin that I did share it with was like, oh man, that's so dope. That's so dope, man. You got to write some more. And I wanted to share it with the cousin who it was about. but I couldn't because it was about him. So I had to write more. I had to write something else that I could bring to him and share with him. And yeah, that was kind of how I got off into writing in the first place.
Wow, that is amazing. And you had a career at this.
Absolutely. Just you know, I went from like selling music in the streets. Like I got to a point where around 2004, I decided, because I was in the streets before that. I was selling dope and stuff. I'm not ashamed to admit that. You know, it's a part of my story. I was selling dope at some point, and at the point where I decided, like, this is not for me. Like, I know better than this. I gotta cut it out. I didn't want to go and work for somebody else. So I was like, the hustler gene was already in my bones. So like, you know, or already in my DNA. So I was just like, I'm gonna print up my music and I'm gonna go out and sell it. And I started going out and selling CDs in San Francisco. Like first I started in my neighborhood, and once everybody in the neighborhood knew who I was, and I couldn't really sell CDs no more, I started going out to San Francisco every day. And for like the next maybe 3 or 4 years, like that's how I paid my rent. And that's how you know, that's how I paid my bills. Like I didn't want to work for somebody else, so I would just stay out all day selling CDs. Like I would sell.
So you're
CDs
an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, like
salesman. Yeah.
I mean, I'm from Oakland. Too Short, like kind of like coined the phrase "out the trunk." You know, like
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, we started that. We started that. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say that like nobody else nowhere else was doing it, but like we made it a thing. Like we have the artists on the West Coast, in my area in particular, made it a thing. Too Short, the Hieroglyphics. It's a bunch of artists that just like said, we'll get out here and just move it ourselves, you know?
Wow. That is awesome. And so then you start shooting your own videos?
Well, that came a long time later, but
because of cell phones.
Well, yeah, I eventually got like signed to the Hieroglyphics, and that was like I probably was signed to Hyro. It was just weird because it wasn't really like a split between me and Hyro, so it's like weird of like where we stopped working together, because we never really stopped working together. You know what I'm saying? Like we just it was kind of more of like I'm kind of going in this direction and you guys are kind of going in this direction, and even
like
though
a natural dissolution.
Exactly. So we were working together for about, I guess, about 5 to 7 years, and then
wow, that's a long time.
And then still another, you know, 4 or 5 years after that, like we were still, me and A Plus were still touring together a lot, and we put out an album back in 2018.
What's the album called?
Grow Theory.
Grow Theory. Where can we find it?
On all of the major outlets, iTunes and Spotify if you want to stream it, or Apple Music. You can put
Grow Theory
in the Pandora, or you know, anywhere you listen to music. Pretty much, if you type it in, you'll find it.
Okay, so is it under A Plus and Knobody?
Yes, A Plus and Knobody, or you could just search Grow Theory. It'll pop up also.
I'm trying to make sure people can find you.
Yeah, but the way the video thing actually came about, I've always kind of had a thing for photography, and I think like I tried to shoot a video back in, I don't know what year, but it was like iPhone 4 days. And I actually, the person that I know your boyfriend through, LaDonrick, I tried to shoot a video for him back in the iPhone 4 days, and it just like wasn't working. It was like the photos were dope, but the video wasn't there yet. And I kind of had to wait for video to catch up. Like I wanted to do video, but I couldn't really capture it how I really wanted to back then. And as the technology kind of grew, it got to a point. I tried a few years later with another homie. Just one day, we just hanging around chilling, and I'm like, you know, I think the video quality on this is good enough for me to try this again. And we tried it out that day, and ended up with like what we thought was a really dope video for the little bit of resources we were working with. So
so this video was just on an iPhone.
Yes, the iPhone 6 or 6S, I think, like one of the 6 models.
What year?
So we are on 11 now. So at least 5 years ago.
Wow.
The video is actually up on YouTube, so I could check and actually see how long ago, but I'm pretty sure it was at least 5 or 6 years ago
Okay.
now. And that kind of gave me the confidence that I could do it. But it wasn't until probably another year or another couple of years after that well, YouTube is just to a point now where everything is done there. Like my nieces, the young people in my family, they don't even go to Spotify to listen to your album. They'll go to YouTube and just let it play. They won't even watch the video. They'll just let the album play. So
Yeah, that's what I do.
like you have to, like, you need a video presence nowadays to be able to keep up on YouTube. And I was explaining this recently to someone that if I ask you to shoot a video for me and I ask what's the price and you tell me $400, that's a very reasonable price for a video. Like, I mean, obviously depending on
Sounds like it.
quality, but
Yeah.
assuming that the quality is even decent, that's a pretty decent price for a video. So, but like
Because
if I'm putting,
how much do videos like how much does a standard video cost?
well, when you say standard, like Jay-Z video will probably cost $30,000, where a video
Good
for
Lord.
myself, a standard, the best video I've ever produced myself, um, like just what I think was the best video I ever produced, but also according to the numbers on YouTube, the people that actually clicked on it and shared it and felt like it was a good video. We did that with zero budget. We brought our phones out and we went around the street and found places that we could shoot it. And so, I mean,
Wow.
like gas money and whatever lunch or whatever the price of my phone, which is a tool I use every day. So
Right.
you have to divide every day of the year, and you know what I'm saying? You have to
And
divide the cost of my phone by every day of the year, not just the day we shot the video, you know?
I want to point out to everyone listening, it's not just your phone. It's you have a ridiculous, tremendous skills, right? Like you were showing me one day all of the lenses for an iPhone. I didn't even
Yeah.
know iPhone had different lenses, like a camera,
Yeah.
and the
It's definitely
tripods and the
accessories.
gimbal, and
Yes.
you edit,
I've
you
done my homework.
direct.
Yeah.
You've done
Yeah.
more. I mean, this is what you do. So
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't want to just, you're very humble and I appreciate that. But I
Yeah.
don't want people thinking you're just like me on my iPhone taking selfies. Like you're in it.
Yeah, no, I did a lot of study. I treat it like it's a camera, you know. I have people telling me all the time, like, man, you should buy a camera, you should buy a DSLR, and I have access to other cameras because people that are around me.
Right.
I have access to them in my house, you know. So,
Right.
but this is my expertise, and the fact that people recognize the quality that I'm able to capture from the phone, I want to be able to push that to other creators or other potential creators that might not feel like they have the necessary resources to be able to capture the high quality that they're seeing every time they turn on a YouTube channel where somebody is using one of these higher end cameras, you know, because
Right.
the gap is definitely being bridged. Like every single year that a new phone comes out, not just the iPhone, but even other phones, like they're all pushing each other in the camera arena more than any other space, you know?
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So when you teach your classes to young people, what do you start with? Because I know you have them. I've sat in on a class. I've sat in the back trying to take my own notes. But so like what's the first thing that you tell young people or anyone that wants to just begin capturing good photos or good videos?
Just to, you know, like one of the most famous sayings in photography is the best camera is the one that's with you, you know?
Mm,
So like, I think that's just important for anybody to understand. Like, obviously somebody with a, you know, $20,000 setup on a camera will take a higher quality image than I will on my $1,500 iPhone, you know? But like at the end of the day, it don't matter because I'm not comparing against people with $20,000 rigs all day. I'm just trying to create for myself. And I think that's important, like for any artist of any medium. Like if you're painting, you don't want to, like, you don't go on your first day or year or fifth or 10th year of painting and go and put yourself up against the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? It's just like, you know, he does art and I do art and we're both allowed to exist. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
So like
that
one step at a time. Don't think that you don't
absolutely.
have something to contribute.
But I'll also show them photo. We've all like driven around and seen billboards of shot on iPhone or seen these commercials shot on iPhone, these
Right.
pictures. And like I don't think people know that there are movies out there. There are movies on Netflix that were shot on an iPhone, you know? There are movies on Amazon that were shot on iPhone. There are
That's
like high end producers that like people know their names from major productions like the Justice League or the dude that did Traffic. Like these dudes have produced films from their phones, and these films are like on the platforms that you watch every single day. So
wow. And your
um, I,
film, when we finish the documentary about Blacks in
yes,
Tech, is going to be
yes.
on those same networks. Shot with
Absolutely.
an iPhone, right?
I'm absolutely shooting for that. Yeah.
Wow. That's, to me, that's so amazing because you for me, just a lay person not knowing that much about technology and how it works, you assume that you have to invest a lot of money to
Mhm.
get to that point. And, you know, especially like you said, you were born and raised in Oakland. You want to be able to provide access to people that grew up like you, or people that currently live in Oakland that don't have 20,000. Who has 20,000? I mean, someone has $20,000 to spend on the camera,
Right.
but not me.
Right.
Not
Right.
not a 11th grader that has
Right.
dreams of making videos like you or making movies.
And that shouldn't dictate your inspiration, right? Like if whether or not you have 20, $30,000 to do what the next person is doing with 20, $30,000, like shouldn't dictate you being allowed to be inspired or you
Right.
feeling like you can capture. So it's ultra important to me that what I teach can be done with, like most of my students, they have these devices in their pocket when they come to class. So like
Right.
a lot of times, even though like, you know, we might provide them iPads or like units to do things on, like I prefer them use the device that they brought with them because that's what you're the most comfortable with. So I want you to be able, when you're out on vacation, when you go to Disneyland with your parents this summer, I want you to be able to, not this summer obviously, but
Not this summer. Well,
next
Disneyland,
summer.
I think they said Disney World opened back up, so maybe.
Yeah, I'm hoping all of my students and all the other kids like stay completely safe, you know.
Yeah.
But wherever you are and wherever you're taking pictures, if you're taking pictures at home, or you know, a lot of these kids are on Snapchat or TikTok or whatever other
Right, right.
platforms, and I even show them things that will just help make, you know, your presentations on there a little bit better.
Wow. I think you
So.
should teach a class for adults such as myself about backlighting,
I want
not
I want to.
backlighting.
I want to. Eventually, I plan on. I want to like start trying to do some like seminars. A lot of people that I know have been asking for me to do some kind of adult class, and I'm
Right.
thinking about
I
trying to
have.
get into doing a seminar.
Because we as adults, we didn't grow up with this device
Right.
in our pocket. So we have, I feel like adults have a way greater, well, adults probably past 35, 40, have a way
Mhm.
bigger learning curve than
Yeah.
the young people because we're like, I
Yeah.
remember the rotary phone.
Yeah. Right. Like buttons. You remember buttons, huh?
I remember. Well, you know, I did want to ask you because you are in Oakland and you are well known in the community and you're so active during the Black Lives Matter uprising, or some people call them protests. I guess they are
Mhm.
protests. I like to say uprising. Were you out there shooting the different people? Like, were you there? What was that like?
I I wasn't. I was there. I've been to a handful of
Oh,
protests. I don't want to say a
okay.
handful. I've been to about 3 or 4 protests. I've been trying to be like kind of safe at the same time. So
Of course,
it's
of
kind of
course.
this it's kind of this like balance of like wanting to be on the front line, but also being like I have to like deal with some older people around me sometimes. So
Okay. So
I'm
COVID
trying
is
to
a big concern for you because of
absolutely.
the older people in your life, the
Absolutely,
vulnerable
but
population.
even then, like I had to like get out there. Like I have to stand in solidarity with my brothers and sisters, man. So
Wow. Why
it
was it
won't be the
so
last time I'm out
important?
there.
Why was it so important for you to stand in solidarity?
I mean, this is our fight, man. This is not like new to me. Like my first protest that I went to was when Oscar Grant was killed. I think that was 2009,
Yeah.
and I was living in San Francisco at the time. And I'm watching the news and people are like gathering in downtown Oakland, and I'm at home watching this, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta get up. I didn't have a car at the time. It was like, man, I gotta go get on the bus, to get on the Muni, to get on the BART, to get over there, because I gotta go.
Right.
You know what I'm
Now,
saying?
I don't
And
want to interrupt you, but can you tell our listeners who aren't familiar about Oscar Grant and what occurred?
Oscar Grant on New Year's Day, 2009, I believe it was shot and killed by a police officer. He was handcuffed on the ground at Fruitvale BART station, and a police officer, Johannes Messerly, shot him in the back and killed him. And it wasn't until, you know, people like we usually have to do, we got to start rioting and tearing stuff up before they'll, you know, try to hold anybody accountable for
Right.
any you know, violence against us. So
I mean, and
um
this was a young Black man. He was a
yes,
father,
yes,
just on public the BART for
yes,
people
this
that
was New
aren't in the Bay
Year's.
Area.
It was New Year's Eve / New Year's Day. So it was that night.
Right.
It was after midnight. So it was New Year's Day, and it
Right.
was 1,000 kids on BART coming from
Which is
parties.
like a subway,
Right.
above ground subway, the Fruitvale station.
And not only did it take for people to start rioting before the officer would be arrested, but when they did convict him of manslaughter, they gave the dude like a year. Like it was ridiculous.
Did he even do a year?
I think he did like some time served, and so not
Yeah.
even like probably not even a whole year. But yeah, so I've been a part of the protest. I've been going out to protests ever since then, like
Wow.
on a fairly consistent basis, especially here in Oakland and over in San Francisco. I got some friends that are like very, very, very active when it comes to like being on the front line. And a lot of times they do things over in San Francisco, and just to like show that support for them, I go over there sometimes. And yeah, so I felt like this is not like a new thing for me. That day that I had to go to the Oscar Grant protest, it was new for me. You know, this time it was like, oh yeah, it's happening. I stopped doing music a little while ago actively, so I kind of backed off of social media, and I actually had to get back on Instagram to try to keep up with where the protests were going down at, you know,
Okay.
because I would hear about a protest after it happened. So
Okay.
I had to get on Instagram, and it was like, yeah, I'm there. I'm out here, you know, and I go by myself. I don't have, if like people know I'm going, and if they want to come, that's cool. And I usually know people when I get out there, but you know, I ride, I go by myself because, you know, like I would love to have a car full of people, but sometimes it's hard to talk people into these types of things. And sometimes you make people feel guilty, you know.
Now, why do you think it's hard to talk people into these kind of things? And I just want to kind of stand with you that a lot of the protests that I've been to, I just go by myself. So why, you know, you said they feel guilty or it's hard to talk them
Maybe
in.
that's
Why
not the
is
right
that?
way to phrase it. Like, cause I really don't even, I rarely invite anybody, but I'll talk to my homies sometime, and I'll make sure I put out oh yeah, I'm planning on going to this protest tomorrow. And yeah, it's probably about 11 o'clock, and I'll be out there. And, you know, so it's like, but now is your time to jump in and say, oh, okay, that sounds like I want to be a part of that, you know? So I kind of just like fill out the people that I deal with. And if I don't get any interest from you, then I don't want to push it on you. The
Right.
reason why I say people feel guilty is because a lot of times when I'm talking about being at protests, the response I get is why somebody else is not at a protest. And I immediately have to say, whoa, I didn't ask you to come. I never once, you know,
Right.
like I'm explaining my experience of being out there and why I felt like I had to be there, you know. That's not a knock against anybody not going. Like, I feel like there are a bunch of different ways to fight.
Right.
And I don't want to condemn anybody's method of like, if you feel like you putting up a meme or, you know, a black fist emoji on your Instagram is enough, you know, like who am I to say that that's not enough for you? So,
Right. Right.
I appreciate every part of, you know, like I'm not doing enough, so I can't put it on anybody else to do more, you know?
I want to talk about that. You say you're not doing enough, but you're attending protests. You are teaching the youth. You are, you know, in the past, it's in your music. So I just want to, I heard that. And I have to tell you,
it's always
what do you
more
mean
we
you're
can
not
do.
doing enough?
It's always more.
I feel like there is always more that we can do, but people, particularly Black people, there needs to be a limit where we just, you know, we need to protect ourselves, our sanity, our mental health, and our physical health. So like you said, if putting a meme up, that is someone's contribution. Writing a poem, that's someone's contribution. And so
calling your congressman, like people
calling your congressman, your congresswoman, even having a discussion with your family members or friends who might not completely agree or get it. So I just wanted to push back on you for that, because you do so much. And I just, you know, I have this conversation with a lot of people. They're like, I'm not doing enough. And I'm saying you're doing more than enough, right? And I commend you for that. So I just had to, and for everyone out there listening, sometimes we feel like we have to do it all, and we can't. And I think that's why, like you were saying earlier, we need to stand in solidarity. So even doing this conversation with me, this interview with me, that's something. Leaving a comment under YouTube in support of someone else that put out content, that's fine. I don't think it's everyone's role to be out protesting. You know, for you it is, for me it is, but maybe for, you know, our cousins or our siblings, that's not their role, and it's okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
But trust me, you're doing enough. You're doing enough.
Yeah, I hear you. My point was that I don't feel like I have the place to tell somebody else to do more. You know, I feel like exactly. on some level everybody can be doing more. So I don't have the right to tell you that this is how you should fight the power. You know,
right.
Just fight it. If you feel like it's you know oppressive, just fight it. However you see it.
Speaking of fight the power, did you hear? I just heard it yesterday. Public Enemy had a remix to Fight the Power, and it had Nas in it and Black Thought. Have you heard that?
I did not, but right after this, I'll be going and looking for that.
I was doing yoga yesterday on YouTube, and I don't know how I stumbled upon it, and I was crying tears. But you, as a hip hop aficionado, I think you'll enjoy that.
Let me just say this right quick. I'm an MC. I consider myself a dope MC. I think on my best day, under the right circumstances, I could go toe to toe with any MC on the planet. Okay.
I've been to your shows. I've been to your shows.
With that said, there are a handful of artists that I have a list of that are like, even on my best day, like it would be an honor to share a track with these people. But even on my best day, I'm gonna have a problem with this dude. And Black Thought is on that list. And that dude is like, he just put out a video recently called Thought versus Everybody. And if you haven't seen that, it's like a 7-minute video. It's very dope. So I'll be checking out Fight the Power, absolutely, because Nas is another one of my favorite MCs. But yeah, Black Thought is like that's one of those dudes on that list for me.
Wow. Well, tell me your thoughts about rap, hip hop, or music in general in fighting the power, in standing in solidarity with I was going to say Black people, but Black, brown, women, trans, everybody. Tell me your thoughts, because you're actually in the community. I can talk about it from being a fan, but you're actually in that. You are an MC. So
It's
how
man,
powerful is that?
this is a difficult question for me
Okay.
because I feel I feel a few different ways about music and the state of hip hop in particular. I think hip hop could be so powerful. I think it could be so powerful. It could do so much. It's such a place, such a huge voice in the world. Like, I think it could do so much good. And I think right now it's just being used for so much evil. And
Expand more. Tell me more about that.
just the messaging, you know. And I don't want to this is why this is a hard thing for me, because I grew up in the communities that these people represent when they're saying these things. And I've been there. I've been in that state of mind at a part of my life, you know. So it's hard for me to like just condemn people who are representing what they feel like is their story and their truths. And, you know, but the flip side of that is I got nieces and nephews, you know, and I made it out of my ultra influential years, you know what I'm saying? Where the things being pumped into my head were influencing me a lot, but I was lucky enough to navigate and not end up in jail for the rest of my life or dead, or you know what I'm saying? Like so many of us that got caught up in these things, it ended up happening to, you know? So now when I listen to music, it's like I got a hard time listening to anybody telling me that killing somebody is cool, you know? Like you know, it was a point in my life where I thought that was gangster. Oh yeah, this dude's so gangster. So, you know, and talking about, you know, bitches this, or you know, pimping this, and now you know, like I think you were in the Zoom chat with us a few days ago, and I was saying how like pimping has never been represented as a bad thing in my community. So I grew up listening to music and watching movies and being talked to about pimps, and pimps being painted in a very fair light, I'll say. You know what I'm saying? Like in my community, it wasn't like, oh no, stay away from them pimps, or oh, you don't want to get caught up with, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't that type of energy at all. You know, it was like much more. I was talking to, you might not have been in this Zoom chat the other day, but I was telling the homie Terrell that I went to a Black Panther celebration, Black Panther Party celebration a few years ago, and one of the artists that was there was Drew Down. Oakland artist who was famous for a song, Pimp of the Year.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I am a fan. I know every single word of that song, okay?
Yeah.
I was amazed that it was being performed at a Black Panther Party celebration, and that the whole crowd was like singing along with it. I'm a fan of Drew. I know every single word of the song. I know the album. I know the whole album. Like before it went mainstream, I was listening to the version that was going around the streets of Oakland. Okay. So I am a fan of dudes, man. But like that was crazy. That was weird to me. The energy in that was so weird to me. Like why? And I didn't blame Drew Down at all. I blamed whoever booked Drew Down to come and perform this one song that he's ultra famous for, you know?
Right. And this is for celebrating the Black Panthers. But let me click my thoughts here. The Black Panthers have also been accused of quite a bit of misogyny, even though all of the good that they did with providing free breakfast and the crosswalks and protecting their communities against police. You know, I've also read some things about some misogyny. So, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation about the Black community and actually America and actually the world as a whole, and the way women are talked about in the media, whether it's rap or rock and roll or movies, right?
That's a
I mean,
part of my
look
point.
at the current administration. I mean,
Right,
if you have
right.
the head of this country and the way that he views women and talks about women,
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah,
that's
no,
in no way to
yeah,
say
no, no,
that
no. I don't
that
I don't
song
disagree with that.
was
It's
a
just
correct.
that I think symbolism is important, and I think
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what the Black Panthers represent in Oakland in particular, you know, like could mean more. Like that's a
It does mean more,
educational
yeah.
point for me. Like I didn't know that what you just told me about you know the misogynistic practices, but that's something that I can study and look into. And I don't like I won't excuse that for anybody, but like
Right.
I think like the symbolism of what they represent in this city in particular is ultra important. And
You're right.
I think like there's streets that you can drive down on a Friday, Saturday night in Oakland, and they're completely filled with prostitutes. Like I mean, it's like
Right.
you can't get through
Young
traffic.
girls,
Yeah, young
not
girls.
women,
So
but girls. Yeah.
so I just you know for me, I think it's a time and a place for everything, and I think you know like
You're right.
at the
You're
Black
right.
Panther celebration, I don't think you know like that's the place to promote pimping and hoeing, which
You're
essentially that
right.
song is doing, you know.
You're right. You're
So, you
right.
know, at some point we have to decide as a community, like where is any place to promote killing another Black man or anybody, you know, anybody of any race. Like is our platform, because hip hop is our platform, man. Like it's like
Yes.
at what point do we say, okay, it's poison? Like I don't want to get too long winded on you or nothing,
No,
but
go ahead. Go ahead.
I gave you guys an analogy a few days ago when we were on the Zoom. We were talking about brainwashing. And I was talking about how when you see movies, you see them holding somebody's eyes open and flashing all of these images, these violent, evil, vile images in front of somebody's face. And that's how they're brainwashing somebody. They're giving you images and you're taking them into your brain so fast and they playing this crazy. So what I was explaining the other day was that, you know, they show you that because your eyes is the sense that we rely on the most. And after that is probably our hearing. So if you take away eyes, like how could you brainwash somebody through hearing? And that's through noise or through sound. So
Completely.
I think like the same way, like your eyes are being held open and flashing images or brainwashing you into some nonsense. The same thing can happen from your ears. Like if you're taking in all, because it's all energy. If you're taking in, and honestly, while I think it's even
It's all
more
energy.
dangerous, from your ears, is because you've heard the expression all the time that the book is better. The book was better than the movie. That's because when
Uh-huh.
you're reading the book, you're painting the picture yourself. When
Yes.
you're watching the movie, somebody else
Yes.
painted the picture for you. When you're reading the book, nobody can cast better than you can. Like you're painting that picture yourself. So when you're taking in this audio assault of whatever it is, like whatever energy you're taking in through your ears, you're painting these images yourself in your head. So
Right.
if somebody is telling you, oh, I just killed the nigga, you painting a nigga's face in your head
Right.
and
Or I'm
watching
drinking
him getting murdered.
lean, or I'm
Exactly.
going to the trap house.
Exactly. All
I
like,
completely agree. And I have also been pondering this for years because I love hip hop. I was a little Black girl growing up in a little small town in Ohio where I didn't hear any hip hop until I was like 18, and it was literal soul food for me, right? And so I grew up during the time of Public Enemy, X
mhm,
Clan.
mhm.
Who are the people that sang Mr. Wendell?
Arrested Development.
Arrested Development, and I
But
just
you also grew up in the
Lady of
time
Rage,
of NWA, and
NWA,
like
Easy
it was a
E. It
balance. It was a balance.
was a
Like
balance.
I tell people that all the time. Like when I was growing up, it wasn't a stretch to hear Easy E on the radio next to PM Dawn. Like
Yeah,
you could
right.
literally have like the hardest artist next to the softest artist, and like it was just all music. It was like we could, if you listen to an hour of your local radio station, it would be this blend of different energies, not just this one type of energy that, you know what I'm
That
saying,
we're
like
getting
we live
today,
on
I
now.
think.
Yeah.
because I always, I think what is the equivalent now, because I like hip hop now. But let's take like Megan Thee Stallion, who I love Megan Thee Stallion, but she's putting out this image. Is there a counter image? Just like we had Little Kim. I mean, the years are a little skewed, but just like we had Little Kim and Foxy Brown, but we also had Queen Latifah with UNITY or MC Lyte, who made me feel so good to be a woman, a young Black girl at the time. But now I'm like, and there are hip hop artists. There's No Name, who I like, but she is by no means as big as Megan Thee Stallion. So is there
none of maybe Rhapsody? Maybe Rhapsody, if anybody?
I think she was in the song I was telling you about, the new Public Enemy one. And that was the first time I've heard of her. I mean, I am a little older, so I don't keep up
maybe
cool
Rhapsody.
Stuff.
But I agree.
Famous as Megan Thee Stallion?
No, absolutely not. But that's what I'm saying.
Or
nobody except for Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole are like as famous for doing any kind of conscious, any level of conscious music as any other artist.
Right. And, I have 2 sons, and my youngest son is a dancer. So I'll listen to some of his music while he's practicing, or I'll listen to his Instagram. You can find him B5 on Instagram, but B_5. But some of the music, I literally have to sit down with my son, who's 17, and I will say, this is not the way you talk about women. He actually came out with his own rap song, and he went to the studio and he was so excited. And I listened to it, and I am that mom that pumps you up. You can do whatever you want. You're perfect. You met my son. But, in his song, he's talking about shooting people and going to the trap house. Now, his dad is a neonatal intensive care unit nurse. I'm a cultural anthropologist. He goes to my dad's house in Ohio in the country, for the summers. I'm like, what do you know about trap houses, and who are you shooting?
So look, this is what he knows about it. He knows that rapping about that will give him more action at making it than rapping about anything else. It's just like you're just following whatever. Like that's what the music business, that's what the music industry is telling him, that this is your best means of success, is to talk about these things. Like nobody is representing the Cosby Show as their life and becoming big from it. Like even your Kendrick.
No one's rapping about becoming a dentist.
Even your Kendrick Lamar is like a dude from Compton that, is surrounded by goons, and you know what I'm saying? It's not afraid.
But at least that's his experience, though. And so now, people like my son, who's a Black man, and, but his friends who are multicultural of all different races, this is how, and this is what troubles me, this is how people see us. Because and I know that you have like a Kendrick Lamar that grew up around the goons and talking about drinking lean and trap houses because that's their life. But for me, I believe other races, other cultures, other people outside of America as well, look at all Black people as living the same experience, and media, which is not controlled by Black people, putting that image out. So if I, go to the grocery store, someone that listens to rap music might think that I'm about to shoot them with my AK. I don't know. Maybe not me, because I'm like a middle-aged mom, but my son.
Yeah, but I hear you. Yeah. Yeah, that's
so. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's all a part of what I'm talking about like that message that's being used more for evil. Like it's influencing, and it's, if hip hop was representing Black excellence and Black power and not like the violence and stuff, then your son wouldn't feel like he needed to rap about. Like I heard people some years ago talking about, I don't really like Drake because he was trying to act like he a gangster and all of this. And I'm like, dude, Drake only acting like he a gangster because the world told him he had to do that. If hip hop,
the record executives,
yeah, like the record business, the listeners, like everybody told him that he had to do that. Like we've been talking about street cred and rap forever, man. Like these people, Tekashi 6ix9ine, like these are people that like maybe if you didn't back hip hop into a corner to where it had to be gangster, these dudes wouldn't feel like they needed to act gangster to sell a record. So it's just
I love what you said about hip hop being backed up into a corner, right?
So
I believe it's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say I believe it's done on purpose. And, you know, people have said, oh, you're thinking too much into it. You're analyzing too much, which is what I do. That's my job, is to analyze culture. But it is because I read that a lot of these record companies have investments into the prison system. So it to me, it makes complete sense. You're not going to sign an artist like you that's like, do your best. Get out there, be proud, you're awesome, I'm repping Oakland, this is a great place, Black Panthers. No, they are going to pick the artist that's going to talk about taking drugs, doing drugs, disrespecting women, going to prison as like a cool thing, right?
Right.
Because it's an investment into their investments, and they end up getting rich. I don't know how many Black people own record companies. I'm sure there's quite a few now, but it's still, like you said, the same, and maybe not. I don't know who's at the very, very top, those billionaires, because someone is setting this precedent, because I know that there are Black men and women that are rapping or being MCs or in hip hop that have positive messages. I know
Absolutely.
it.
I mean, it's millions of them. They just like kind of underground. Like you have to dig a little bit more. Like luckily nowadays, like with the outlets that we have, it's given the underground scene a boost also. So there are artists that, you know, nobody that listens to the radio all day knows, but have huge fan bases now, you know. So that's a great thing, you know.
Is there anyone you recommend that you like?
I listen to, like, honestly, I listen to a lot of like soul music. Like I listen to a lot of hip hop also, but the music that I'm kind of getting more into jazz as I get a little bit older. Like my dad passed a couple years ago. He was like really into jazz. And I think like even, I say over the last maybe 5, 6, 7 years, I started listening to a little bit more jazz, but,
nice.
Just as far as like mainstream, you know, you got like Run the Jewels. Like I can recommend Run the Jewels. Like anything Killer Mike.
Are they mainstream though? Are they like mainstream? Okay.
They're pretty well known. They like Killer Mike has a pretty huge platform, I would say.
Okay.
But underground, Jay Electronica, that's another mainstream artist that I was like really, you know, I'm a Jay Electronica fan. I don't consider myself a fan of too many artists, but I'm a Jay Electronica fan. There are absolutely, I know a lot of artists. I'm connected to a lot of artists personally. So I end up listening to a lot of very, very underground artists, you know, because if one of my homies put out a record, then, you know, I got to give it a spin because they need the spin more than, you know, XYZ rapper who already has millions and millions and millions of clicks, you know. So I spend, when I do listen to hip hop, I spend a lot of time just, you know, like, oh, this homie just put out something, or my cousin just dropped the album, or, you know, I'm still working on getting some of the things that I've done, like, polished up and put out, because I took a step back from the music last year, and a part of the struggle I'm dealing with that, like this is what I was going to say a minute ago, is that because hip hop is in the state that I feel it's in, where especially mainstream hip hop is pushing so much negativity, I almost feel like I am abandoning my posts. You know what I'm saying? By taking the step back and being like, well, I don't want to be a part of it right now. And it's not like, I had multiple reasons for getting to this point, you know, and I might or might not ever write another song again. I don't know, but that is something that I like struggle with. Like I feel like I kind of, you know, I have a responsibility to be the flip side of the coin, you know.
Right. I mean, on that, I do want to say that your self-care is the most important. I don't have the quote memorized, but Audre Lorde said, you know, that is your self-care is an act of revolution. And by you taking care of yourself, I think that in itself is good, but you're also influencing not only the people around you, but the future generations, if I can offer that to you. And then, you know, whether you, because, you know, when you told me that you took a step back, and we talked about this on the Zoom call that we were on with your friends a few days ago, but when you told me that you were taking a step back, it was after your show that I had went to. And I was like, what? I was like, no, because, you know, me and our friends are in the front row, just amazing. And I'm going to
I love
have
it.
you.
I love being on stage. I like that. It was so therapeutic for me, but I did
And I
it
was shocked.
I did it for like about 15 years, like really like touring and being on stage a lot. Like I did a lot of shows, and it was absolutely therapeutic. And like honestly, performing, getting on stage and performing is the aspect that I knew I would miss the most when I decided to kind of step away.
Okay. But so you're thinking that maybe, not definitely, but maybe you'll get back into it in some form or fashion.
I don't know. I got homies that like are bugging me about it every single day. The homie Cam, he's like my partner in rhyme, and he like every single day he's like, oh yeah, so you feeling like you feel like right? Like he'll like slide it in like real casually. But you know, teaching has like really. I think if I wouldn't have like kind of found my footing in teaching, if I wouldn't have been like blessed to, and let me just say that like, you know, I told you this the other day, like you are a huge part of how this teaching thing came about. So thank you for that. But I think like if it wasn't for the teaching thing, it would have been a lot harder for me to kind of take the break that I needed from music, you know. Teaching really like filled that void that I think I would have had otherwise. And now I'm like,
and you're having such a huge influence on young people.
Absolutely. Like I brought hip hop with me. I tell people all the time, I did not quit hip hop. I'm not writing music right now. I didn't quit hip hop.
In a different form, right? It's in a different
exactly.
form.
So like hip hop is in me. Like I can't quit it, you know. So everything I do, I'm representing that. And when I'm teaching the students, I'm representing that. I'm always trying to, you know, push the other side of that coin that I'm talking about.
Right. Whew, so much good stuff. And it seems like, you know, something just came up and I wanted to ask your opinion as far as hip hop. Do you think you took a step back because the current state of hip hop right now, or was it just more personal?
I think I took a step back for more personal reasons, but I think watching from what I felt like was the outside for the first time in almost forever, it made me nothing that I saw from the outside looking in made me say, oh yeah, I'm tripping. Oh, I need to jump back in. Like it kind of made me feel like, and again, like this is the time where, you know, dudes snitched and came home from jail and became the biggest artist after they came home from jail. Like that's not my hip hop. That's not the hip hop that I, you know, like it's.
You're talking
like
about Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying like just that's an example of what hip hop is today, you know, and like it's not a big deal to everybody. It's a huge deal to me because of the hip hop that I came up in. I don't think you should be out here like running around robbing fools and killing people anyway. If you are doing it, you definitely shouldn't be getting on the stand and telling on your homies so you can get less time. Like that's just like like when did this become cool? And you know, so I think it like watching from the sidelines for this last year or so just made me more comfortable being on the sidelines, honestly. And again, that's one of those things I struggle with, because it's like, you know, I used to feel like, oh, I have this responsibility. I can't walk away because I have this responsibility to like make my voice heard. And now I kind of just feel like, you know, maybe that was a little bit of ego, and hip hop is probably in great hands. Like I know plenty of dope artists, like it's plenty of people still like carrying that torch. So it's not just like my responsibility to be Superman, you know, or to try to feel like I'm Superman.
Yeah. Do you think, but before we go, I want to ask this question. Do you think that with the Black Lives Matter protest and the world, you know, looking at Black lives, do you think that that will institute a positive change in the current state of hip hop? And let me give you an example. The reason I asked this, I was, once again, since I saw the Public Enemy song, DEIB, I'm such an old woman, DEIB. My kids are probably so embarrassed right now. He has a song called Rockstar, but he also did a remix where, and I actually watched the video, and I don't know if you've seen it, he's like basically talking about police brutality.
Okay.
And Black Lives Matter. He has protesters, Black protesters, and all Black with signs saying Black Lives Matter, and he's standing on top of a cop car, and you know, it's a really good song. There's some parts in it that are problematic, in my opinion, but that's an example to me. Do you think that hip hop or hip hop executives, which are most likely not Black men or Black women or people of color even, do you think that they will institute maybe a small change because of Black Lives Matter?
So I think it's a few points to that. I think number one, if we're talking about hip hop executives, they'll go towards whatever wave will make some money. So if they see the tide turning towards, oh yeah, like we have to do more of this, like they'll promote that till the cows come home if it'll make them more money. They don't really give a shit one way or another. Like, I don't think so, you know? So it's the same thing with the NFL, man. Like everybody in the NFL is now standing up like, oh yeah, man, Black Lives Matter. And it's like, we're okay, but 2-3 years ago, like
last year.
Like, so, I'll say that I do think it'll influence artists to do more songs of like uplifting. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but more songs that will shine a light on some of the, you know, more serious issues in the community. Because a lot of these dudes that we're talking about, the baby is from the hood. Like these are dudes that are from the hood. So it's like, it's not like the stuff that they're talking about is not happening in their lives, and it's not
it's their experience. Yeah.
But you know, it's exaggerated and it's glorified a little too much. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and the Black kid from the suburbs isn't able to tell his or her story either.
Exactly. But I also think the flip side of that is also, and I've been saying this for years, it's not enough. It's almost exploitative, in my opinion. If you make one song about positivity and issues and you know, trying to be on the right path, and the other 16 songs on your album are about fuck a bitch and I shoot a fool in the head and not like that, to me, you just being exploited because you know that, oh, okay, ears are on this right now. This is a hot topic right now. So, you know, I think I'm the older I get, the more I'm willing to hold myself and everybody else accountable. And I think that's a huge thing. Accountability is just a huge thing. And you know, like people have to realize that when you have a huge platform like that, you have a lot of. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, when they put out the NWA movie, Dre put out the Compton album at the same time. There was two things on that album that I thought it was a brilliant album. Absolutely loved it. There was two things on the album that I just absolutely disagreed with. One was Dre did a skit where he apparently had shot his girlfriend or something and then took her out to the woods and was burying her or something. And I was just like,
Wow.
look, they just announced like a minute ago that you just got $1 billion from signing this deal with Apple now. So it's like, why promote that? Like, why? Like, to me, it was just like, Dre, like, you already are solidified out here. You are the legend.
Right.
Like taking that away from the album would have added to the album more than it would have taken away from it, in my opinion. So
wow.
it was just
I didn't know that.
it was just like what was the like? In my mind, I was like, Dre, you're a billionaire. Stop telling people you're killing people and burying them in the woods, man. Like,
right. Especially because he has a history of domestic violence against his wife.
Yeah, I mean, it's unnecessary. And the other thing was, Eminem had a line on one of the songs where the bar was, "I even make the bitches I rape come." And they knew it was bad.
Ooh.
They knew it was bad because they blanked out the word rape. It's the only word on the whole entire album that's blanked out. All right. It's like that's so bad on so many levels. But like even like when you're somebody like Eminem, it's like, we get it. Like we heard you try to shock us 10 years ago. You don't have to keep trying to kill us with shock value. Like this was what 20 years ago that you was doing this already. You know what I'm saying? Like we get it. Like, you crazy, you'll say anything. Like we already understand that. You're at a point now to where we know that you're not gonna go out and rape anybody. We know that. But somebody listening to your music can be influenced enough to think that shit is cool.
Right.
So like, I think like, just like those are extreme examples of having to be responsible for the things that you put out, to the energy you put out into the world. And, you know, less extreme examples are any MC that I'm listening to tell me that busting a nigga head is fly or cool, or that we should be carrying that energy. I think one of the things about this movement is that we've been living in like this troll society for some years now. And I think people are like, stop being a dickhead on purpose. I think like I think a part of this movement that I'm seeing right now is people just being like just stop being like the whole Karen thing going on right now. It's really helping magnify this idea of like, just stop just being a mean person. Stop. Just
I love that.
And I think at some point that's going to bleed into the art. I think it's gonna have to. Because it's like, we're going to keep listening to, like, your energy out in the world is like, stop being a dickhead. Then you're going to go turn on music that, like, be a dickhead. Like, nah,
that's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point.
I got to cut it off.
I never thought about that. You're right. Yeah.
So,
woo, I could talk to you all day.
Yes.
Can you please come back and give us some more nuggets of wisdom about this moment in history? Please say
absolutely. Like, I had an absolutely wonderful time. The time just flew by, so I'm down to do this. I'm always down to do this anytime.
Okay, next week or tomorrow.
I'm down. Like, I'm seriously down anytime. Like, seriously, like lean on me. I got your back.
Well, and you know what? I had talked to you. So to let everyone know, we've been talking about these Zoom chats. So JD invited me to a Zoom chat with him and his friends. And so people can just come in and, you know, say a few things. And you said these calls sometimes go for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And there were people like, so you come into the room and you might know one person, but you leave and you end up knowing like 6 people and having these deep conversations about hip hop and Black Lives Matter and serial killers and
all types
and gardening.
Gardening, all types of different topics.
Right? And so I would love to convince the guys in your Zoom chat, and I can say guys because I was the only woman, and you said you wanted to get some more estrogen in there. And I was like, absolutely. I told you, I felt so honored. I felt like the only woman in the barbershop because I'm like, oh, this is what men talk about? This is pretty cool. But I would love, if they're interested, I would love just to be on the Zoom call again and just record it. And then that'll, you know, with everyone's permission. And then that will be, you know, we can talk about what we talk about, what's going on right now. So
Yeah,
we'll work
absolutely.
on that for you all. We'll work on that. But I'm going to let you go because, like I said, I could literally talk to you all day long, and we'll set up
Yes.
another call. But before we both go, please tell people where they can find you. And do you have a playlist
You
of
can't
just
find
music
me.
that you listen to? So you're done with social media? You're done?
You can't find me. No,
Oh
I'm
man.
still. I didn't like delete. I just haven't been active on them at all. I deleted them from my phone, but I didn't delete my accounts. So I'm
Okay.
still on Instagram under iKnobody, just the letter I and then KNOBODY. Anybody watching this, the way my name is spelled right here on the Zoom, you can find me on Facebook through JD Mathieu. My
But what about
music,
your
no.
videos that you've done? Yeah, go ahead.
The easiest way to just find all of these things is to go to Linktree. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Linktree.com,
Yeah.
but Linktree.com slash, I think it's iKnobody. If it's not
Okay.
iKnobody, it's just regular nobody.
I'll
But
link it below.
yeah,
So
yeah,
look for it.
that's absolutely the easiest way because that'll link you to a bunch of videos I did for myself and different people, and
Yes. And
even
your
the
music?
mini documentary that me and Chris did is
Is it
up
on
on
there?
there. Yeah,
Nice.
so
Okay, okay.
yeah, so that's the easiest way.
Okay. But now what are you working on now? What are you doing now during the pandemic since you're stuck at home?
Well, I'm trying to wait to see what's going to happen with schools. You know, this will be
Yeah.
my second year, my first full year of teaching. So
Yeah.
the school has already asked me to come back to teach both of my classes. I teach high school and a middle school class. So
Maybe
I'm like,
online?
I'm trying to get my ducks in a row. So if I do have to teach online, or they told me to just kind of prepare for multiple scenarios. So that's
Wow.
kind of what I'm
Cool.
doing. I'm doing some video editing. I'm trying to, like, since I just really officialized my business, Ill Appropriate Media, I'm trying to capture content now that I can put underneath
Okay.
that umbrella, and eventually shoot that movie that we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
So I'm
But
doing some video editing.
if someone needed you for video editing work, can they just contact you under the Linktree /Knobody?
Uh, I don't know if it's a way to contact me from there, but I can if we can leave my email link, with, like, when you put it on YouTube or whatever,
Yeah.
I'll give you my email. We could just link the
Well, go ahead
email
and say it
to it.
now, and then I'll leave it below as well.
My email, you can reach me at knobody@me.com. That's KNOBODY at me.com. Illappropriate media at Gmail. Like, if that's
Perfect.
easier for you.
I love it. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Man, thank you for having me.
This was fun, and you'll
Yes,
be back. So I
yes,
guess
for
it's not
sure.
a goodbye. It's until next time.
Talk to you soon. Yeah.
Bye.
All right, Kim.